not obstacles. And now the news in full. The Community Policing Advisory Committee in Ogun State has been inaugurated. The committee will be chaired by the Awujale of Ijebu Land and chairman of the State Council of Obas, Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetono. Governor's office correspondent Tunde Olaniro reports that the governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, at the inauguration described community policing as cheap, efficient, and a more effective means of policing. Today's report.
There can be no development in an environment of insecurity. Hence the inauguration of the Community Policing Advisory Committee by the Governor of Ogun State, Prince Dapo Abiodun. The Governor says community policing is the right way to go.
Therefore, it is possible to say that the job of the police is squarely community-oriented and can only be achieved with a synergy between the police as an institution and the community. Rather than their police, community policing becomes our police. It's cheaper, more effective, and should be more efficient. And it's certainly proactive in preventing crimes rather than chasing after criminals.
The governor, who notes that the scheme will lead to the engagement of special constables, calls for people-friendly police force as it is obtainable in developed countries.
This becomes glaring with the authorities' adoption of the principle and core values of community policing. I am optimistic that the police hierarchy will continue to empower and motivate its personnel to work for the common good of the society and thus endear itself to the hearts of the people. The time is now set for the actualization of the popular slogan, "The police is your friend." Our administration will continue to extend the much-needed cooperation and hand of fellowship to the police and all other security agencies. To that extent, we have offered suggestions on how to ensure security and preservation of law and order. We have offered logistics and material support when necessary and have contributed in promoting the image of the police. We have also collaborated with other Southwest states to establish our own community-based security outfit called the Amotekun. This came into existence through a law passed by the Ogun State House of Assembly. I believe that the Amotekun outfit will complement this community policing initiative.
The Awujale of Ijebu Land, Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetono, who was represented by the Dagburewe of Idowa, says every community in Ogun State yearns for community policing and will embrace the initiative.
We who are being saddled to look into this matter, we shall not fail to do so. And the only thing that I believe that we shall need is the wherewithal to support the program. But this notwithstanding, all the communities, all the Obas in Ogun State, we surely key into it, since our own government has accepted in principle the innovation of community policing.
The Inspector General of Police, who was represented by AIG David Oyebamiji Folawuyo, says this is a new beginning in security and policing.
Now the job is no longer for that man or that government. The job is now we for ourselves, policing ourselves and maintaining the peace, solving crime, transforming and reorganizing and rearranging the system.
With the Community Policing Advisory Committee in place, every inch of the state will be policed as well as promote security and justice in the state. Tunde Olaniro, Ogtv News.
Lawmakers in the Ogun State House of Assembly have unanimously affirmed that the Bill on Legislative and Judiciary Funds Management remain veritable legislations meant to promote democratic ideas, self-independence and accountability in line with the tenets of democracy. This was the submission of opinions of members who took turns to lend their voice in support of the bills during its second reading at a plenary presided over by the Speaker, Right Honorable Olakunle Oluomo, at the Assembly Complex, Okemoson, Abeokuta. Correspondent Kola Wole covered the plenary, and his report is presented in this package.
State House of Assembly Legislative Funds Management and other matters connected therewith, and a bill for a law to make provision for the Ogun State Judiciary Funds Management and other matters connected therewith. Honorable Solomon Osho noted that the bills were aimed at promoting separation of powers among the three arms of government, thereby strengthening them in the discharge of their respective duties as stipulated in the Constitution. Other lawmakers who corroborated Honorable Osho's view submitted that the implementation of the two bills, upon their passage and assent by the state governor, will improve the activities of the legislative and judiciary arms with a view to achieving efficiency and effectiveness in the delivery of quality service to the people. The lawmakers also commended President Buhari for the issuance of the Executive Order 10, saying the two bills will speed up the financial autonomy of the two arms of government. Responding, Speaker Olakunle Oluomo noted that the bills, which remained instrumental to the implementation of the executive order, will rather promote harmonious relationship among the three arms of government as spelled out in the Constitution.
And don't forget that it's supposed to be one government. The judiciary, the executive and the legislature, all of us are supposed to be on the same page for the progress of the state. If our governors swear to oath of office, as stated in Section 5 of the Constitution, that they will protect the Constitution, we equally are bounded by the same authority that we should do what is constitutional. So in the light of that, the passage of this bill will matter of factly uplift Ogun State to the Committee of Progressive States in Nigeria. I hereby charge the two bills altogether to the Committee of Rules and Business for further legislative action. So I order.
Oluomo, however, assured that the bill will bring about rapid development of the state's economy while putting the state in its pride of place among the progressive states in the country.
In the meantime, the Ogun State House of Assembly has passed 3 bills, including the Ogun State Mortgages and Foreclosure Law 2019, State Health Insurance Scheme Amendment Law 2020, and State Regulations Approval Law 2020, barely 8 days after convening public hearing to seek inputs from stakeholders into the bills. The passage of the bills followed the presentations of the committee's reports by their various chairmen, including Honorables Damilola Shoneye, Adegoke Adeyanju, and Modupe Mujota, who thereafter moved the motion for their adoption, seconded by Honorables Wahab Haruna, Atinuke Bello, and Abayomi Fasunwa, with an affirmative support from all the lawmakers, after which the bills were later read and adopted clause by clause by the Committee of the Whole House. The motion for the third reading of the bills was later moved by the Majority Leader, Honorable Yusuf Sherif, seconded by the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Oludare Kadiri, Honorable Ganiu Oyedeji, and Honorable Olushola Adams, while the Acting Clerk, Adedeji Adeyemo, did the third reading of the bills before the lawmakers.
State Mortgages and Foreclosure Law 2019, clean copy of the bill for a law to amend the State Health Insurance Scheme Law 2019, of the bill for a law to prescribe approval of regulation by resolution of the State House of Assembly and for connected purposes before the governor of the state brings the Babylon MFR for its assets. I so order.
Meanwhile, the Assembly needs commitment towards ensuring promotion of local content in the state to aid increased indigenous participation in the state economy, has also passed a resolution calling on the state government to compel all companies and corporate organizations operating in the state to effect not less than 30% local content in all categories of their staff composition in terms of employment. Speaker Oluomo opined that the implementation of the resolution will be of great advantage for the teeming youth, adding that the Assembly will soon put up a legislation to address local content and federal character amongst others in the state. The Federal Executive Council, at a virtual meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, has approved the refund of about 148 billion naira expended by 5 states to rehabilitate some federal roads and bridges. The beneficiary states are Rivers, Cross River, Ondo, Osun, and Bayelsa. This was disclosed by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, immediately after the meeting. He said the approval followed a memo presented by the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, at the meeting. Mohammed said the council resolved that there will be no further reimbursement in the future if any state government undertakes similar projects without the approval of the federal government. According to the minister, 36 states of the federation sent a very huge bill to the federal government asking for compensation for money expended on federal roads, and this prompted the president to set up a committee to verify the claims whether the projects were actually constructed and completed in line with the federal government standards. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika also revealed that the Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of 16 billion naira for consultancy services for pre-contract services for the design and construction of Abuja's second runway with a completion period of 12 months. June 4th every year is International Day of Innocent Children of Victims of Aggression to create awareness and address the vulnerable and violations faced by children in conflict-related situations. Our reporter, Yusuf Ganiu, takes a look at the significance of the day in this report.
The International Day of Innocent Children Victims of Aggression is a day set aside by the United Nations, acknowledge the pain suffered by children throughout the world who are the victims of physical, mental, and emotional abuse. This day affirms the United Nations commitment to protect the rights of children.
It is a day where we have to acknowledge the sufferings of children who are victims of mental and physical abuse. And in doing that, we must also do more by improving on those things that are necessary to curb issues or menace of such in our society. On a day like this, we have to actually improve. We have to improve on mechanisms that would deter all those abnormalities in our society.
It was emphasized that the devastating issues that surround the rights of children should be looked into so as to have a safer society.
The killings, the adoption of children, we're having that too. Some people are beginning to kidnap children just to collect ransom from their parents these days. Some people are getting to defile indiscriminately children. People are not paying so much importance to the needs of. So what we see is that aggression, but we are not seeing the underlying factor or the issues that may be worrying that child, that's making that child to become so aggressive.
Respondents also reflect that more still needs to be done to protect children and to ensure accountability for violations of their rights.
Government needs to be more stringent in dealing with all these issues. We need to enforce the laws accordingly and to let them know that nobody is above the law. We must all come out together and say an end to all this to all this abuse, especially in our society today. We have seen the rising case of rape. It is becoming something something serious in our society. So I would expect we as a civil society organization to do more in the awareness, both preventive measure and so also if it happened, we should know that it is not an issue of stigmatization. It is to bring some people to the fore to bear the punishment.
According to this cleric, children are the heritage of God and must be protected at all times.
But in a way where they have now been abused, or either by rape or by killing or call it any sort, I believe God will frown at it.
This day was established on the 19th of August 1982 during a special session of the United Nations. Yusuf Ganiyu, Ogtv News.
Still ahead in the news, man bags life sentence for abduction and rape. Do join us for the details in a moment. You're welcome back. It is 24 years after the tragic and gruesome murder of the advocate for justice and wife of late MKO Abiola, Alhaja Kudrat Abiola, was assassinated on June 4, 1996. In this report, Shemiluri Amore takes a look at the life and times of Alhaja Kudrat Abiola, a woman who stood solidly behind her husband in the struggle for the revalidation of the 1993 June 12 presidential election mandate. Here is Temilori's report.
Alhaja Kudirat Abiola was 44 years when she was assassinated in a car near her Lagos home. According to accounts, she was cruelly murdered under the instruction of former late military head of state, Sani Abacha. Alhaja Kudirat Abiola was born in 1951 in Zaria and was married to the late business mogul, Basharu MKO Abiola. The military annulment of the June 12 presidential election, which her husband had won, brought her into pro-democracy movement. In 1994, Abiola was incarcerated and kept in solitary confinement without trial for claiming his presidential mandate from the military junta.
My father said to my mom that trying to stand in front of the Nigerian army to defy them is like trying to stand in front of a moving train. My mom, I would have thought, would say, well, then that's suicidal, let's forget about that. But my mother said, so let us do it together.
Despite the danger, Alhaja Kudirat stepped forward with the conviction that the military's actions were in violation of fundamental rights of Nigerians. She mobilized market women, students, activists, and other human rights organizations to fight for democracy.
When my father was arrested and he was kept in jail, my mom, who was a high school graduate, her English wasn't very good, now stood up. She was always in front of CNN, in front of BBC, on the streets of Nigeria marching, protesting the military's continued rule in Nigeria.
In 1994, Kudirat was actively involved in moving and sustaining the oil workers' 12-week strike action against the military government. The strike, which succeeded in isolating and weakening the government, was the longest in African history by oil workers.
My father never wanted her to work. She insisted on working, so she had earned some money of her own. She sold everything that she had and gave it to the Oil Workers Union and said, go on strike to protest the military's continued rule. They started monitoring her, threatening her. They jailed her for 24 hours and warned her.
In December 1995, when the pro-democracy group decided to march for freedom in Lagos, Kudirat joined such esteemed nationalists as Anthony Enahoro at the forefront of the march, braving the bullets of government forces sent to intimidate them. On June 4, 1996, few days to the commemoration of the anniversary date when Nigerians resolved to vote out the military dictatorship, Alhaja Kudirat's life was ended on earth, extinguished by assailants' bullets.
On the day that my mother was to travel out of Nigeria for my graduation at Harvard, our car was ambushed and she was gunned down. When this happened, I just thought about my gentle and kind mother. I imagined that she would be making her journey to the other world, and she would say, this is a sudden journey. Maybe I need to tell Hafsat what to do, how to carry on. Then she would say, but I don't need to tell Hafsat anything. She will know.
In recognition of her struggle for democracy, some monuments were named after her. Shemiluri Amore, Ogtv News.
The House of Representatives has resolved to summon the National Service Chiefs over the rising spate of insecurity in Nigeria. The summons were issued based on a motion moved by a member, Sada Soli, over the increasing attacks by bandits in some states in the north-central and northeast geopolitical zones. The lawmakers resolved that the top security officials should address the House next week. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has voted against a prayer seeking to recommend castration for rapists. The House, at a plenary on Thursday, considered and adopted a motion on the rising cases of sexual violence in Nigeria. A member, James Faleke, had recommended that persons found guilty of rape should be castrated. And in honor of victims of sexual violence in Nigeria, the House resolved that members should be dressed in black on the next legislative day. Here in Ogun State, the Ogun State Police Command has arrested a 25-year-old man, Wasiu Bankole, for forcefully having carnal knowledge of a 70-year-old woman. According to a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Abimbola Oyeyemi, the suspect was arrested following a report by the victim who reported at Agbado Division that while she was sleeping in her house on Tuesday, 2nd of June 2020 at Abule Lemode area of Ijoku at about 8 p.m., the suspect suddenly broke into her room, held her down, and forcefully had carnal knowledge of her against her consent. The victim stated further that it was one of her neighbors who heard her screaming that came to her rescue by using stick to hit the suspect at the back, consequence upon which he jumped off inside her room. The PPRO dispatched his detectives and the suspect was arrested and brought to the station. On interrogation, he confessed committing the crime under the influence of alcohol. Meanwhile, the victim has been taken to the hospital for medical attention, while the Commissioner, Kenneth Ebrimson, has ordered the immediate transfer of the suspect to Anti-Human Trafficking and Child Labor Unit of the State Criminal Investigation Intelligence Department for further investigation and diligent resolution. In a related development, a 30-year-old man, Lekon Felix, has been sentenced to life imprisonment on a 2-count charge of abduction of a teenage girl and having a carnal knowledge of the minor. Justice Abiodun Akinyemi, in his judgment, pronounced the sentence on the accused, having gone through all evidences leveled against him, which are contrary to and punishable under the Criminal Code, Laws of Ogun State, 2006. The judgment took place at the State High Court, Kobakwe Road, Abeokuta. Peter Falomo completes the story.
The rate of rape and violence against women is now of grave concern to all stakeholders. Some have called for castration as punishment for rapists. Others have called for various stringent degrees of punishment for this set of offenders in the country. The First Lady, just on Wednesday, called the attention of those concerned to the vulnerability of the women folk in the country.
I think the government have to be fully in charge of what is happening.
In Ogun State, one Lekon Felix, a 30-year-old man who was arrested on the 18th of February 2013 on a 2-count charge of abduction of a 15-year-old girl, Shukurat Rabiu, and forcefully had carnal knowledge of her in Songota area of Ogun State. The victim narrated how she was given a bottle of soft drink from the said Lekon Felix, whom she had previously worked with on his farm in Ogbe Erunwon, where she lived with her parents. She further narrated how she slept off and later found herself in Abeokuta and was later taken to Owodiegba, where she was able to escape from her abductor and rapist, among other experiences. 2 officers attached to the case attested to the statements of the accused, who has admitted to the charges leveled against him. In his ruling, Justice Abiodun Akinyemi of the Ogun State High Court, having found the suspect guilty, said the act is contrary to and punishable under Section 362 of the Criminal Code and Section 32 of the Child Rights Act. He therefore sentenced him to life imprisonment without an option of fine. Principal Counsel Adekunle Sodeinde says this will no doubt serve as deterrent to several others.
Having sexual intercourse with a child is something that everybody must discourage. We must not condone it, we must not encourage it, we must not conceal it. We should always fight against such acts in our society because it's a way to destroy the future of our children. Even if it is a rape, immediately there is no consent, you should stop. There is no need for any man to rape a woman or to have sexual intercourse with a child.
Efforts to get the reaction of the Defense Counsel on camera proved abortive. Peter Falomo, Ogtv News.
To other stories now, Nigeria has recorded an additional 348 COVID-19 cases, taking the total number of infections in the country to 11,166. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disclosed this late on Wednesday. According to the agency's report, 163 of the new cases were recorded in Lagos, 76 in the FCT, and 23 in Ebonyi. Other affected states are Rivers with 21 cases, Delta, Nasarawa, and Niger with 8 each, Enugu with 6, 5 each in Bauchi, Edo, Ekiti, Ondo, and Gombe, 4 in Benue, 2 in Ogun, and 1 each in Osun, Plateau, Kogi, and Anambra states. A total of 3,329 have been discharged, while 315 deaths have been recorded. Nigeria has continued to record new cases of the novel coronavirus 3 months after the first case was recorded in the country. With the soaring figures, Lagos has remained the epicenter with 5,440 cases, closely followed by Kano State, which did not record any new case, maintaining its initial 970 cases, and the FCT with 763 cases. Meanwhile, 2 officers of the Nigeria Air Force have tested positive for COVID-19 in Makurdi, Benue State. The state governor, Samuel Otom, announced this while releasing new guidelines on the easing of restrictions in the state. The governor said contact tracing has commenced immediately within and outside the Nigerian Air Force base located along the Makurdi-Boko Road to identify and isolate anyone who had contact with the officers. The new measures in the state include the lifting of the ban on worship places, which must not congregate for more than 1 hour, and the resumption of work by all civil servants with effect from Monday, June the 8th, 2020. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Air Force has supported the Nigerian government's effort in combating COVID-19 pandemic in the country. In Ebonyi State, Governor David Umahi has directed all members of the State Executive Council to take the coronavirus test. He gave the directive in a statement on Thursday by the Commissioner for Information and State Orientation, Uchenna Oji. Governor Umahi also ordered all government officials, especially those working in the state's Ministry of Finance and Budget, to take the test within the next 7 days. He decried the number of COVID-19 cases recorded in the state, which has risen to 75 out of over 3,000 samples tested. According to the statement, the governor is disturbed about the way and manner some State Executive Council members were infected, although they are in stable condition. In order to ensure effective contact tracing, he directed that all government offices be shut down from Thursday and are to resume on Wednesday. In Lagos, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has directed civil servants from grade level 13 to resume work effective Monday, June the 8th. Sanwo-Olu stated this during a briefing at the Government House in Marina. He said the state is still holding back on civil servants on grade level 1 to 12 until further notice. Officers of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in Edo State have foiled a criminal attempt to smuggle 83 kilograms of cannabis sativa concealed inside sacks of gari out of the state amidst the COVID-19 lockdown. The interception of the dried weeds that tested positive for cannabis took place at a trailer park in Etsako West local government area of the state. NDLEA Edo State Commander Mr. Buba Wakama, who announced the latest operational breakthrough in Benin City, also commended operatives of the Auchi Area Command for the spectacular drug seizure. While describing the mode of concealment as cunning, the commander said that preliminary investigation had revealed that a local cannabis smuggling cartel in the area is behind the cannabis consignment. In a related operation at Uzeba Forest, the command also recovered 20 kilograms of cannabis seeds and 13 kilograms of dried weeds that tested positive for cannabis. The commander therefore warned that drug traffickers in the state must quit the criminal act or be prepared for the legal consequences. In the business segment of the news, federal government to generate 3.17 billion naira from marginal field offers for bidding. This and more when we return. To join us again. Welcome. The role of small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, in the nation's economy cannot be underestimated. The contribution of SMEs in Nigeria has been recognized as a main sustenance of the economy because of their capacity in enhancing the economic output and enhancing human welfare. Idowu Fabajo in this report takes a look at the impact of small-scale businesses on Nigeria's economy. His report.
The vast majority of developed and developing countries rely on dynamism, resourcefulness, and risk-tasking of small and medium enterprises to sustain process of economic growth. In overall economic development, a critically important role is played by the small and medium enterprises.
The impact of small-scale businesses on the Nigerian economy, I would say creation of wealth and reduction of poverty, the improved standard of living, we have the employment generation, technological innovation, greater utilization of our local and raw materials, products. Then we have the development of entrepreneurship.
As far as monetary interaction or money exchange is concerned, they are the ones who ensure that there is a linkage between the bottom and the top.
It's been reducing the rate of unemployment in Nigeria and in the world at large. Well, our government has been trying, they've been trying a lot. They've been releasing a lot of short-term loans and grants to our upcoming youth in business. I'm urging the government to increase the loans they'll be giving out yearly for sustainable development in Nigeria, and in order to reduce the rate of unemployment and theft in the economy, especially in this COVID-19 period.
According to respondents, SMEs expansion boosts employment more than large firm growth because they are more labor intensive.
Major challenges these businesses face today ranges from production challenges, marketing challenges, financial challenges, collateral security, general low productivity, amongst other challenges. And these challenges have been compounded today with the recent global pandemic. Our government should consider leaning forward to support these businesses to ensure that they continue to preserve the importance to the national economy. And some ways it can do this would be through the provision of economic stimulus that can come as interest-free loans that will be easily accessible to these businesses.
SMEs are more productive as direct government financial support to SMEs can boost economic growth and development.
Government therefore needs to engage these small-scale business owners actively in consultation before they engage in any policy formulation or implementation. It's also important that the government look into the provision of basic amenities and infrastructure, especially in the area of power.
The government should be very kind enough to consider granting them tax rebates as well as tax exemptions. These are key measures that would allow this business to continue to survive and ensure continuity post-COVID-19.
Entrepreneurial development is therefore important in the Nigerian economy, which is characterized by the heavy dependence on oil, low agricultural production, high unemployment,
low utilization of industrial capacity, high inflation rate, and lack of industrial infrastructural base. Idowu Fabajo, Ogtv News.
The National Insurance Commission has extended the deadline for insurance and reinsurance companies to meet its new capital requirements to September 30th, 2021 from December 31st, 2020. It disclosed this in a circular titled Segmentation of Minimum Paid-Up Share Capital Requirements for Insurance Companies in Nigeria on Wednesday. The Commission said the regulated entities must meet about half of the capital requirement by the end of December 2020. The incidence of COVID-19 pandemic has made it difficult to proceed with 31st December 2020 recapitalization deadline. The Commission therefore extended and segmented the recapitalization process into two phases. 50% of the minimum paid-up capital for insurance and 60% for reinsurance shall be met by 31st December 2020. Global oil commodities gained in prices as Brent crude, the benchmark against which Nigeria's crude is priced, rose to $40 per barrel for the first time since March. Brent crude rose by 43 cents or 1.1% to $40 per barrel. This came as the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipri Silva, declared that Nigeria's compliance with the crude oil production cut that was agreed by members and non-members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries